Hello students, today we are doing lesson 1.6 and this is on problem solving. And this is the 4-point checklist. Okay, so I like these checklists that they have you do, but I know some kids do not. So here's the thing. If you can solve these problems and do these checklists in your head, then I'm not going to have you write them down. But if you are a kid who's constantly getting the problems wrong, then I'm going to say, hey, let's stop and go through the checklist. Okay, so let's talk about the checklist. Don't say, hey, I'm the one who doesn't need the checklist, so I'm not going to listen. You need to pay attention to what the checklist is, because if I come back and say, hey, you need to do the checklist, then you need to make sure that you know it. So the 4-point checklist. Number 1 is read to understand. So read to understand. And it says, read to understand the question and identify the needed data. So read to understand the question. That's all I'm going to write. That's all I'm going to make you write. But it also says, and identify the needed data. Okay, so what I really like you to do is make sure that you understand what they're asking you for. So that's the question. Okay, number 2 says plan. Okay, plan what to do to solve the problem. Plan what to do to solve problem. Okay, and this is kind of like knowing whether you're going to add, subtract, multiply, divide, maybe do more than one thing. I'm going to add this first, then multiply this. Okay, number 3 is solve. And it says solve the problem by carrying out the plan. I'm just going to write solve. So this is when you actually do your math problem, right? Or let's write it like this. Do the math problem. Okay, and then last thing, number 4, is check. So check to see if answer is reasonable. If I ask you if somebody, someone has 2 apples and another person has 3 apples, and you say, oh, the answer is they have 100 apples. Does that sound reasonable? Is 2 and 3 going to give you close to 100? No. So that's what the last one is talking about. Okay, so let's go through and do an example. Okay, this is example 1. We're going to do 3 examples. Example 1, and I don't want to write out the whole entire problem because it gets too long when taking notes. So I'm going to kind of do this short, but I'm going to redo the problem. Okay, tickets for a school play are going to be $3.75 for adults, $3.75 for adults, and $2 for children. So tickets for a play are $3.75 for adults and $2 for children. If there's 94 adults and 141 children that attend the play, okay, now I'm going to write the whole question out. What was the total amount of ticket money collected? Okay, so we didn't write out the whole problem, but we did write out the question. Because number 1, so now I'm going to go through and do this checklist, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to actually write 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 1 says read to understand the question. So number 1 is read and understand the question. So reading means what I want to know is, what am I looking for? What do I want to know? Well, I want to know the total amount of money collected, right? So I want to have total amount of money collected. Okay, so that's all I'm going to write under that one. Now, on your homework tonight, I'm not making you write all 4 of these steps. I'm just going through them to show you how we work a problem. But you can just solve the problem. And then if you've got it wrong, then I want you to go back and do these steps. Because a lot of times this first one is really important, is what am I looking for? Okay, number 2 says plan. So I'm going to say, what am I going to do in this problem? Well, what I think we need to do is first multiply, right? Because for each of these adults, they're paying $3.75. So that means I'm going to have to multiply there. So I'm going to multiply first. Multiply the cost of ticket times the number of tickets, right? But that's for adults, and then I have to do that for children. Then my next thing is I'm going to add the adult money to the children's money. Right? Okay, so that's my plan. Number 3 is I'm going to solve this problem. Okay, so I need to do 375. Oh, I don't know what happened there. 375 times 94. So I'm going to go off on the side over here, and I'm going to solve that problem. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and just give y'all the answer. So that's going to be $352.50. Okay, so I did the adults. Now I'm going to do the kids. I'm going to do $2 times 141 kids. And that's going to give me $282. Now, if we were in class, I would probably be saying, pause and work this out off to the side and then give me the answer. But we can't do that because we're on, this is just being recorded. Okay, so now I have those 2 problems. So now I'm going to add those together, right? So I'm not going to go write a different problem. I'm just going to add them. I'm going to put a big plus sign here, even though it should be over here, right? So when I add these 2 together, I'm going to get $634.50. So that's my answer. Okay, so now I want to see if that makes sense. Does that problem make sense? So if I go back up here and I estimate, so number 4 is kind of like checking it, right? So this is what I want in your homework. This is what I want to see, is $634.50. If you got that right, then the rest of it means that you did the rest of it. So 1, 2, and 4 are pretty much just in your head, what you're supposed to be doing in your head. So let me show you for 4 how I check this. So I say $3.75, that's close to $4, and 94 adults is close to 100, right? So I say 4 times 100 is about 400. And then over here when I do the children, I have $2, so that's just 2, right? And 141 is close to 150. Now notice I went over on every number, right? So 2 times 150, I could do that in my head, 300. And when I add those 2 together, I get 700. So is that a reasonable answer? Yes, I say it is, because it's close to 700. Even though it wouldn't round to 700, it would round to 600. But I did go over on everything, because my 375, I went up to 4. My 94, I went up to 100. And 141, I went up to 150. So every single thing I did was going up. So that's all correct. I'm going to say that's close to that number. I wasn't way off, like it wasn't like $2, right? It's pretty close. Okay, that's it for how we do example. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 more examples with you. It's kind of hard to do these without writing out the whole problem, but I don't want to have to write out the whole problem. So these are skills check. And actually, if you want to right now, you can hit pause and try number 1 and number 2 on your skills check on your own. So you're going to read the problem on your own. This is on pages 22 through 23, numbers 1 and 2. So why don't you go ahead and hit pause on this and try to work that out. If it gets too hard, then you can come back and watch my steps until you say, oh, wait, I want to pause it again and try the rest on my own. Okay, so go ahead and do that now. Get out your book and find that and try to do that. And then come back and do it with me. Okay, here's the problem.